Okay guys, today's topic is social media is an instructive force in society. Jermaine and Silas are arguing for the statement, and Shannon and Kayan are arguing against the statement. So we'll have Silas's introduction.
Good morning, class. Today I'll be arguing that social media is a destructive force in society. Since the beginning of social media era, it has been evident that through various news reports and on how destructive social media can be in society. With wider access to computer and other devices that allow internet access, the destructive force of social media is stronger than ever. Despite allowing you to connect and interact, social media leaves people vulnerable to feeling more lonely, jealous, and sad. Social media constantly reminds us of other people's achievements, things we don't own and things we can't do, which triggers strong negative emotions. Hannah Krasnoro from Humboldt University in Berlin said, "We were surprised by how many people have negative experience using Facebook, with envy leaving them feeling sad, lonely, frustrated, or angry. Social media does not only affect your self-esteem, it also affects your ability to think independently." An HP Labs computer scientist revealed that social media users are influenced to change their way of thinking based on majority rule and their inner circle. Peer pressure continues to be a negative influence on a lot of users. This negative trait causes people to follow others because they fear criticism. The ability to think independently is a key trait in life because it allows us to make personal decisions on our own terms and not the terms of others. When people lack the ability to think independently, they make decisions they usually wouldn't make because they are influenced by the minds of others on social media. This inability to think on your own leads to people being peer pressured into cyberbullying. The most common aspect of social media's destructive nature in society is shown through cyberbullying. According to popcorn.org, more than 70% of social media users are victims of cyberbullying, which makes them twice as likely to commit suicide. Kids and teens are especially vulnerable to cyberbullying due to the fact that more than 69% of kids and teens use social media, which was stated by NoBullying.com. The ability to be anonymous brings out dark impulses that might otherwise have been suppressed. The destructive nature of online attacks can leave mental scars with the victim. In many cases of victims, cyberbullying have been driven to commit suicide. The cyberbullying hotline said that 20% of kids that are cyberbullied think about committing suicide and 1 in 10 attempt it. The most recognizable cyberbullying case would have to be Amanda Todd. The devastating cyberbullying attack she faced caused her to switch schools several times, made her have no friends, and caused her to get beaten up by classmates, which ultimately made her commit suicide in 2012. Amanda Todd and the numerous amount of other kids who hurt themselves or committed suicide due to cyberbullying just goes to show that social media is a destructive force in society.
everybody. Sorry, I'm kind of sick. Okay, well, today we're arguing that social media is not a destructive force in society for many reasons. But as people said, they said about cyberbullying, about how it distorts body images, about teenagers' body images, but in reality, social media introduces us to a different culture. Like, there's a whole big community in this school that loves K-pop, loves different anime, loves everything, and they wouldn't know about that if it wasn't for social media. They wouldn't know about anything that goes on. There's different fundraisers that go online for social media, different trends, like the Ice Bucket Challenge was a huge thing all over the world. All in all, social media has a very positive outlook on things. You just have to look for it. There are many negatives that block all of this. A lot of parents, a lot of teachers, a lot of students look at social media very negatively, when in reality, it's everywhere you go. It's in your daily lives. You use it in school, out of school. Kids from like grade 5 use it in school. It's very positive. Cyberbullying, it is illegal. There are things you can do to prevent cyberbullying. You can ask for help, which is the most important thing. We have assemblies every year on cyberbullying, yet it seems like no one knows the solution to it. There are many things put in place to help victims of cyberbullying. For the point they said about distorting body image, there are a lot of videos and ads online that try to counter that. You can't go online and try to become something you're not. To be completely honest, you're never gonna look like that person. You're never gonna act like that person. You are you. You have to embrace you. So it's all up to a personal opinion or a personal matter on how you take a look on social media. But furthermore, I'm going to talk about social media and business. So there are many things that social media contributes to business, such as exposure to your brand, sales, brand equity, and learning about your target audience. It's not where you had to go back in the day where you had to go and physically meet someone and talk about, oh, how is this going on and how is this working. Nowadays it's more online. You meet the customers using it. Everybody wants to open an online business because it's worldwide. Even for job interviews, they look at everything. They look at your social media, they look at everything you have. Social media is going to be more present in the future, so there's no point in saying it's a destructive force, saying that, you know, we need to have a ban on social media, because in general, social media is going to be more present the further we go on in life. It doesn't only just affect business, it does really affect marketing. And most people marketing or in marketing learn how to use social media to market their brand and to market anything. So social media isn't going away. We can't fear it. We just have to accept it. Thank you.
Hello, class. Before I get to talking about my points, I would like to review my opponent. You talked about how social media introduces us to culture. So do many face-to-face interactions. Things like potlucks and many other things like that introduce us to many different cultures around. She also talked about how a lot of things are done, like business and advertisement online promote and benefit businesses. It also leads to impulse buying. Instead of people focusing on what they really need to purchase, they purchase things through impulse and what they see online on social media, which is because social media promotes many businesses. You also talked about how there are many solutions to cyberbullying. Well, if there are many solutions to cyberbullying, why are kids still hurting themselves and committing suicide? Me and my partner feel as if social media's addictive ways lead to negative shapings. Firstly, it was stated in Social Times that social media produces the same effect as love in the brain by activating the chemical of dopamine. Now, for those of you who don't know what dopamine is a neurotransmitter that controls pleasure. It is proven that one is getting the same pleasure of social media as another one is who is in love. Too much pleasure leads to addiction. And for one to be able to achieve such a connection or attachment to social media as one is able to their family member, to their loved one, it's scary. Let me break down to you the amount of time spent on social media. Social Times state how children between the ages of 15 to 19 spend at least 3 hours daily checking their social media. This age period is crucial in everyone's life. Not only is it the transition stage where people become accountable for their own actions, but it also sets up people for their future endeavors. So, also social networking online. The use of social networking sites can cause personality and brain disorders in children, such as the inability to have real conversations because you're always online and doing it through DM or through tweets or through comments. Limited attention spans and need for instant gratification, attention, deception, hyperactivity disorder, and self-centered personalities. The Facebook example. So, 39,751 years per day is spent on Facebook. If you were to break that down, the annual lifespan for humans are 71 years. If you were to break that down into 71 years, that would be 556 people per day spending their whole life on social media. If you break down the amount of time that is spent on Facebook. That's a lot of time for someone to spend on social media or on an app. Not only does social media consume much needed time, it also affects us in ways that we don't realize. Social work today stated social media affects our ability to interact and communicate and it's also visible in many ways throughout society. Paul Booth, an assistant professor at the College of Communications at DePaul University, had this to say: "There has been a shift in the way we communicate. Rather than face-to-face interactions, we're tending to prefer mediated communication. We'd rather send messages. Our relationships on social media tend to be weak. We don't feel as connected as we do to face-to-face relationships as we do online. Through many online relationships and conversations, it leads to weak ties and weak relationships, meaning as it's not real. The relationships that you experience with face-to-face people last longer, which is proven, Paul Booth says, last longer than relationships online, because you feel connected to face-to-face and you feel connected more than you feel online when you don't really see the person and you don't know how the person is acting. That's what
Social media provides a lot of new opportunities for not only businesses but small companies as well. For example, there is social customer service. It is a known fact that 67% of customers use social media for customer service. It increases the brand relationship with the consumer, and it allows for the company to not only save money on customer service, but also give a better service to their people. Brands usually save $1 when using social media, while they end up spending $6 extra for phone communication. There's also employee advocacy. Companies that allow their employees to post on social media and advocate for their product establish a better rating with people, especially on Facebook and Instagram, instead of just having regular advertisements. There's also real-time surveys. Surveys help brands analyze their market, track performance, follow up with customers, understand the customer demographic, and discover new innovative ideas. It would usually take weeks for businesses to collect data and gather enough responses to generate a conclusive data, but now with social media, businesses can gather instant feedback with quick polls and that may assist in critical decision-making processes. There's also recruiting high-impact employees. It costs a lot of money to feed through the employees for high-end positions. So using your employees that you have now, you can send them out to recruit people that they would feel are qualified and who are naturally acceptable to that kind of position. Also, using social media creates a bunch of opportunities, not just for businesses and small companies, but adolescents growing up. It creates new jobs, like YouTubers can make a lot of money, as well as Viners and Instagram models. There's so many more opportunities to face. One of the things that you touched on was it creates an addiction. There are many ways to slow addictions. For example, with kids, parents can limit their children to a certain amount of hours on any social media, the TV, computer. It doesn't really have to exceed a certain amount of minutes, as well as child caregivers should limit as well. And for adults, there are many apps out there that can be used to help limit your time. That'll turn off your internet and make sure you have more personal time. Also, it allows people to have a wider community. For example, when you're learning a new language, like let's say German, you're not going to be able to find a regular German speaker just anywhere. So social media apps have created a gateway for people to be able to speak with native speakers to help improve their language speaking skills.
Is that saying Westbrook? Is that saying? It's like saying, it's saying the Raptors could win the championship. They would face the 2011 Boston. The best player is like, who is it, Corey Maggette? Oh wait, I think it was a year after.
Okay, so Silas, you're gonna give us the closing?
Yeah. To conclude my argument, social media is a destructive force in society because it affects your self-esteem, it affects people's ability to think independently, which causes them to make decisions they wouldn't normally make. It changes their way of thinking due to the majority rule because they're afraid people are going to look at them a certain way if they don't go with what other people are doing. It causes mental health in children. As Jermaine said, the use of social networks can cause personality and brain disorders in children. And it causes the inability to have real conversations with people, and the kids have like limited attention spans if they spend too much time on social media. The time spent on social media, as Jermaine said, was 39,751 years daily. And 556 people spend their full lifespan on social media a day. Relationships online are weak because it's not a face-to-face connection, so you're not getting the same experience as you would talking to someone face-to-face because you're talking to them over the internet. The fake relationship, it's different because it's not a real relationship, it's a fake relationship because it's not face-to-face, as I said before. And Jermaine talked about dopamine, which is like something that it's produced in the brain. It's like a addiction, which is caused, whatever. And yeah. And I also talked about cyberbullying, and that's probably the biggest one for a reason why social media is a destructive force, because it causes kids. There's been over 100 cases, and kids have killed themselves or done stuff to themselves due to social media. And yeah, thank you.